Hello there, it's almost time to find out who has won this year's awards. But first, there are predictions that in the south of England, due to all this turmoil in Europe at the moment, prices will go down. But at the same time, some commentators are predicting that prices here in Yorkshire will go up. I'm going out and about to test that with people from in the industry and also to highlight some of the new trends that have featured over the last 12 months. And first off, you'll notice that, apart from yours truly of course, some of our interviewees are younger professionals who are coming into the Yorkshire property scene and, very important, choosing to stay here instead of going down south to make their fortunes.
I've come into the property market as a younger professional. I've actually already been south and I've come back up north to where I'm from in Yorkshire because I think it's a different vibe down in the south of England. I think around London and the sort of home counties, if you look around, the city is just evolving all the time and bigger businesses coming in, putting their headquarters here and that kind of thing, that's kind of keeping the investment and the interest there and the jobs there to support, I suppose, people wanting to live and to buy in the area.
It's a very positive atmosphere, I would say, at the moment. I'm being at the firm 10 years and it's as exciting as I've probably known it. Lots happening in different areas, not necessarily confined to city centres, a lot more peripheral development, a lot more investment. So yeah, very exciting.
I think we've seen an uptake in activity. There's been a lot more activity in the region. I think people are trying to find sites all over the region in and around Leeds, as well as North Yorkshire, to the east as well. There's still a little bit of a struggle to get the sites through the planning and if they're viable, but we're seeing a steady stream of new sites coming online all the time.
I used to live in a two-room apartment, neighbours knocking on my wall.
I mentioned that we'd be looking at some new trends in the residential property market in recent years, and one of those, which features in our categories and shortlists, is definitely the build-to-rent market. Now that can involve large apartment blocks, student accommodation, right up to these 4-bedroom, high-specification houses that have been developed on the outskirts of Leeds.
Build-to-rent is relatively new in its current form in the UK. It's been around for a long time as multifamily housing in the US, and if you take Germany for example, around 60% of people rent in Germany, so it's not new elsewhere. With a new property asset class, the funding institutions are usually quite nervous until there's established provision of it. So build-to-rent in the UK is being emerging in the last 6 or 7 years, and now it obviously is quite prolific with a number of schemes coming out of the ground right across the regions and obviously in London.
Location, location, location. It's a cliche in the property industry, but actually developers are looking at new locations as sites become more difficult to find. And like this one, just on the edge of the city centre in Leeds, that often means considering either brownfield or former light industrial sites.
More and more house builders and developers are looking at less traditional greenfield sites, and they're going to look at industrial sites to try and meet that housing need, and more are coming forward. Brownfield sites tend to be closer to towns, so they can be closer to the amenities, closer to a lot of what's going on, and there's a real demand for housing in those areas.
They certainly bring a density of development which is required to meet the housing numbers. They also bring a quality which, again, with regard to the scale of building that can come forward, that can deliver some really attractive tall buildings. The Grade 2 listed viaduct behind me will be brought into use by the Doncaster Bridge scheme, and it brings the High Line to the top of that, which has been reflected of the New York High Line. And it also brings into use the arches, where it will introduce some commercial units into there, so further small retail, other leisure, restaurant, cafe, that type of approach.
There's a lot of potential for regeneration across Yorkshire, and I think that one of the sort of strongest opportunities lies in some of the areas where it is more deprived, but where the availability of land is massive, and where some of the buildings, and especially some of the historic buildings, that some of the mills and some of the other buildings that can be regenerated, offer some really good opportunities.
So new trends in the Yorkshire residential property industry, and a new generation coming into that industry who are helping to create new horizons in this great county. It is time now to find out who has won tonight's awards. Have a fantastic evening. Bye for now.